Yummy. Yummy.
Common Good TV show. The Common Good TV show. Brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. Highlighting the good in the community. Hosted by Pastor John McLean, Tucson's favorite family show. The Common Good Radio Show. The Common Good Radio Show. Brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. Highlighting the good in the community. Hosted by Pastor John McLean, Tucson's favorite family show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Common Good Radio Show, brought to you by Homeless Veteran Transition Program Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John McLean, here with the star of the Common Good Radio Show, Mrs. Alyssa DeMeo with Astrom Consulting.
Hey, John. I'm sure I'm not the only star that you saw this weekend. I heard that you were sleeping outside for a couple of days for a great cause.
Yeah. Every year, once a year, I convince myself to go do it, and I did it again this year, and it was pretty amazing. But I'll spend a little bit of the last segment to talk about that. But for those who don't know of Astrom Consulting, real briefly, fill them in.
I'm an industrial and organizational psychology practitioner. Astrom Consulting is a psychology-based coaching and management consulting firm where we use science to make business less of an art. Take away all of those inefficiencies your business might have and improve your system so you can achieve peak performance, productivity, and profit.
And for those who want to get a free 15-minute discovery call, how can they do that?
Go to astromconsulting.com and you can book it right there.
Awesome. And we have another. It seems like this may be Powerhouse Women's Show today because we have a powerhouse lady on the phone right now. She is the CEO of For Tucson, an organization in Tucson that is transforming things in so many different ways. But don't just take my word for it. Take it from her. Welcome to the show, Lakeisha Dion with For Tucson.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for having me again and accommodating me being on the phone versus in studio with you guys.
Well, yeah. Well, we're missing out. You know, you're a lot more fun in person. You're like a ball of sunshine. But I still feel the love through the phone nonetheless.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with For Tucson, fill them in.
Yeah, so For Tucson is a Christian nonprofit. We focus on systemic issues in our city, and what we do is really fun. We get to go out and make friends with decision makers and key stakeholders throughout the city that is thinking they're out there alone, trying to do the work of bringing the peace and prosperity in the city, and we get to come alongside them and support them and champion them, bring them into the rooms with others that care about the things that they care about, and discuss very creative ways of implementing solutions in our city.
That's amazing, and I'm blessed to be one of the awesome many partners. So many partners of For Tucson, but so I know of like the plethora of events and kind of collectives that For Tucson's brought together. But have you speak to it. Like I feel like we can probably spend 3 different shows going through the different events and their particulars, but give us a kind of like a broad overview of the different type of events that For Tucson has carried out and that are now kind of the pillars and the flagship of For Tucson's work.
Yeah, so one of the main things that we do is to make sure that we know and understand our city. And so we do that in various different ways. One is through our Spiritual Heritage Bus Tour, where we take individuals around to 4 very specific areas in our city, one being the representation of the first church in our city. The next is the representation of the first government entity in our city, education, and then we go into housing or healthcare. And with each one of those stops, as we're learning about the history going way back to like the early 1400s, before we were even considered a country. We're learning about the different people groups, but we're also understanding God's intentions for our city. And through that, we're able to share these are some of the barriers that we're running into that's preventing us from seeing the vision of Fort Tucson, which is we want to see a city aligned with God's ways so that his peace and his prosperity is experienced by all generations. And when I say all, I'm talking about that over 1 million residents that live, breathe, work, take care of their families here in Tucson, Arizona. We want to see everyone experience that. And so as we understand those issues, we then do a deeper dive into very, very specific issues on poverty, on education, on housing, on economics, and trying to see what are those barriers presently, that's preventing us from all experiencing that peace and prosperity. And then we do these gatherings. So we just had a gathering at the end of October where we pulled individuals into a room, just some key powerhouse people who want to see a way that we can address the homeless issue in our city in a dignified way. And they all had great ideas, and we were sitting there over 2.5 hours, not only understanding the landscape of this very specific issues, but also understanding how there's similarities in the solution that we want to present, and what would it look like if we bring all of our resources together and work collaboratively in implementing this solution. So we do a lot of collaborative discussions. Coming up in January, we're going to have our annual Bless elected officials, first responders and elected officials breakfast. We do this every year where we get to bless those that serve our city in a very sacrificial way. You know, our firemen, our policemen, just our first responders all together, and then those who have answered a call to serve and speak for the people of our city. We want to be able to bless them for the year that they're moving into, and then also let them know there is a group of people that is going to continue to pray for them and their family, and be available to support in any other way that we can. And then next is Movement Day, where we're going to be bringing people again together. I think that's our biggest thing, is just gathering people, getting them to understand our city, getting them to understand the people who love our city, and let's see how we can all work together. So, yeah.
Right, man.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
just
a lot.
yeah, and she hasn't even spoke to everything, because I'll also I'll have you speak to the general meeting that you guys do every month that I think in a lot of ways kind of drew me into the Fort Tucson sphere, because as much as it is, a monthly conversation on, a community issue that we all can kind of put our heads together on, it's almost like a faith-based networking event in itself. But again, I don't want to ruin it. Why don't you speak to that a little bit, Lakeisha?
Well, yeah, you honestly, you spoke about the highlights, but I think what sets us apart from other networking gatherings is, think about that issue that just bothers you day in and day out, that's preventing you from conducting business, building your business, raising your kids, just name it, wherever issue that is like right there in front of you. And a lot of times we get so frustrated because we don't have that safe space to communicate and share our opinion, or even ask, how can I help? And that's what our monthly meetings do, our monthly breakfasts at the end of each month. We gather people together, and again, we are sharing information on very specific topics about individuals being priced out of housing, and where can they go to get resources so they don't become unsheltered or homeless. Individuals who are frustrated with the lack of resources for teachers and support for teachers, and where can we go or how can we organize to support our educators that are educating our next generation. We create this space on a monthly basis where, one, you can see other people working in other levels of industry in our city, but then it's also, we create a space where we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
We want to hear what hurts your heart, what's breaking your heart. And we take that information and we do deeper research. Like, is this something that we missed, that we didn't see when we originally looked at this issue? And a lot of times it is, or a lot of time it's confirmation on the research that we found.
Yeah.
So it gives us even more direction. But those general meetings, as much as it is helpful for those who join and they really love the networking and the food that we're able to provide, we benefit so much from it because now we're getting outside of our own understanding and we're constantly
Lakeisha,
changing our mindset.
We have probably about 20 seconds for people who want to plug in with For Tucson. How can they do that?
Just go to our website, fortucson.com. And that's the number 4tucson.com. And all of our events, videos, the latest recording of my interview with John is on there, and previous podcasts that we've done is all going to be on there, and you can learn more there.
Thank you so much, Lakeisha.
Yeah, very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That's Lakeisha Dion with For Tucson. Go to fortucson.com to check them out. As always, want to thank our sponsors, Proper Villains, our favorite, For Tucson, We Care Tucson, 100 Plus Guys Who Give, Tucson Tamale Company, Desert Sunset Realty, White Sound Ranch, Always Faithful Home Inspection, Crest Insurance, Piper Family Painting, Steamy Concepts, Donzo Dust Landscaping, Ashram Consulting, Duran Coaching, CB2 PGA, Pep Inc., Roman Camposano Country Financial, Always Faithful Home Inspection. I'll say it again. We'll be right back.
The Common Good Radio Show. The Common Good Radio Show. Brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. Highlighting the good in the community. Hosted by Pastor John McClain, Tucson's favorite family show.
Hello, welcome back to the Common Good Radio Show, brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John McClain, here with the star of the Common Good Radio Show, Mrs. Alyssa DeMeo with Ashram Consulting.
Happy to be here, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually kind of a special segment. You didn't realize it. I don't know. I think we mentioned it last show, but I'm gonna definitely put it out forefront because in studio with me, we have kind of like the military family here, because at this table we have people that are either part of the military or married to somebody that was in the military. And I most recently I saw the pictures that you were sharing and just like really kind of hit me right in the feels because it was definitely kind of reminded me of kind of, you know, the younger years of being in the military and my, you know, spouse and my family, you know, and all the sacrifices that they went through as much as the sacrifices I went through. So I, you know, coming out of this Veterans Day, I thank the families of the veteran members of our community as much as I thank the veteran members of our community, because you guys made a big sacrifice, and I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
I say all that to say welcome to the show, Cellular Web, with Always Faithful Home Inspections, which is a veteran-founded organization and woman-owned, and just all in all, just an amazing organization that I've learned so much about in so many different ways, and I'm just so blessed to be partnered with you, Celia, over the years. So
thank you. It's
Thank
been
you.
great to be here and to know you and to know your mission, and high respect to you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you. And so for people who aren't familiar with Always Faithful Home Inspection and the work, the plethora of kind of things that you guys do, fill them in.
Yes, our organization was founded in 2016 by a former Marine, and it took off. Our ethical standards allow us to work for the buyer, so they are our primary person that we do it for. So every service that we offer the home inspection, mold, termite, pool, and the sewer scope, it's all geared towards serving them. And of course, we do the discounts for the law enforcement and for the veterans as well. And we are currently expanding. I'm going to be opening up the Phoenix market as well
Wow.
in the next
That's
couple of
exciting.
months. Yes, so we love our clients and we dedicate ourselves to them.
Nice. And something I think we've touched on before, but I definitely wanted the two main subjects I want to take a deep dive in. But the first one being when someone's looking for a home inspector. I know myself, my wife and I, we purchased a house probably going on 3 years now. We were smart enough to get into it before the rates went too high. And when our home inspector, pretty much our real estate agent, just found it for us. I mean, and thankfully in a lot of ways the real estate agent did handle a lot of the stuff for us. So, we didn't have to, because in a lot of ways we kind of didn't know a lot of stuff. We just really had no idea. So for those that are out there like us, which is probably most, what do you look for when it comes to finding a home inspector, and how do you find a home inspector? And should I just rely on my real estate agent, or what should I do? Fill me in, because I don't know.
Absolutely. But being a first-time home buyer is daunting. I have been there, and I had no idea what was going on, and I trusted my realtor, and she didn't lead me wrong. So it is not a bad thing to go with the inspector that your realtor trusts, because they have built a relationship. And it's also a good idea to do your own due diligence and check other inspectors as well. And I hope that I don't shoot myself on the foot with this, because there's a lot of realtors that trust me. And I also have a team of other home inspectors that also are trusted by the realtors. So even though it is the same company, we may do things differently, but either way, they're all compliant with the standards of practice from the Arizona Board of Technical Registration. So regardless of who you hire, they should comply with those standards, and they should be licensed, of course, and there's a way to check for that. Yes, you can go with the realtor with the inspector that the realtor trusts, and that's not a bad thing. But if you go online, you will find, a list of people that are available to you. You check out their ratings, you check out their stars on Google, and it is ultimately your decision to choose one.
And put yourself, as a tenured inspector that it's been doing it all these years. Put yourself in the shoes of the first-time home buyer. What are you looking for when you're looking for a home inspector?
It really is important to find those items that are going to be big ticket items, because the realtor and the inspector are working for the buyer. So when you're looking for somebody who's buying their first home, some people buy their first home and it's a new build, because they don't want to run into these problems for the old homes. They all have their problems. And then there are old homes that are just amazingly well kept, and they don't have as many problems. So you want to check those items that are going to cost you a lot. Is the water heater about to go out? We cannot tell. If it's working right now, it may not work tomorrow, but the oldest water heater I've done is 1979, and it was still working perfectly fine. And then I have gone to homes where they had a water heater from last year and it was failing. So it just really depends on what the person is willing to do. Some people don't want to deal with any of that, so they buy a brand new home. Some people are more handy and they want to flip the house while they live in it. So it really depends on the buyer, what they are comfortable getting.
Okay, and we talked about real estate agents in this whole transaction, and you mentioned if a real estate agent recommends a home inspector, it's not a bad thing. But I have heard that there is a myth out here that you should never go with the home inspector the real estate agent recommends, because they might be in cahoots with them. Can you explain why people think this and why this myth simply is not true?
That's what I have heard from being on social media and from hearing from other people. Somebody heard me on the radio and said, well, I went with the inspector that my realtor recommended, and I don't think the inspection is valid. And I asked her when it was, and she said 3 years ago. It doesn't mean that the inspector didn't do a good job if it was the one that the realtor recommended. However, there have been cases, and I don't really know of any in town. I have seen it on social media from other states where the buyer found a problem that either the inspector didn't find or it happened after the inspector was there, and they got the house and now they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars because they thought that the realtor recommended that inspector so they could just get through with the sale. The really good realtors, many that I work with, are working with me for the interest of the buyer. So if I find something, let's say polybutylene pipes that are known to fail, and I tell the buyers, you have polybutylene pipes, and they request the seller to fix this, and the seller doesn't want to fix it, the good realtor is not going to push the sale because of something the inspector found. If they don't want to go through with the house, then the realtor will value the opinion of the buyer because they're the ones that are going to live there, and they will either find them another home or negotiate for whatever the realtors negotiate with. We both work for the buyer. We don't make the sales fail. We don't make the sales go through. We don't really have an interest in the house. Whatever house you end up with is what you decided to go with, what your realtor decided to go with. So if the realtor is telling you, you should buy this house anyway, that should be easy to fix, but you don't feel comfortable with it as a buyer, don't go with it. It's we're not in cahoots with them. I really do not care if the realtor makes the sale or not. I care that the buyer is happy with what I told them about the house because they're the ones who are going to be in there. We're not in cahoots together. I'm sure it has happened in the history of the world, but that's not the way we operate.
Yeah, and I definitely, in my experience in purchasing the house, if they are in cahoots, then they're really good at hiding it because it's definitely, it seems like most of the stuff's above board, so it definitely doesn't seem like too much of a concern. But
if they give a couple of options, if my name is in the hat, that's great. The buyer can do their own due diligence, but the good realtors will give the buyer a couple of options to choose from, and then the buyer chooses.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, awesome. I look forward to us kind of unfurling more myths about this industry, because not being in this industry, I wouldn't even know otherwise. But I'm glad you kind of flushed that out, because it's certainly, now that you mention it, it's certainly something that I'd considered, but I didn't really know the reality of it. So thank you for that. And for people who want to get a hold of you and utilize your services, how can they do that?
Absolutely. So they can go on www.alwaysfaithfulhomeinspection.com, and very shortly there's going to be 2 pages there, again, because I'm opening up the Phoenix market. So they can choose where to book from.
Okay. Awesome. And then well, I guess we'll see you next time.
All right.
That's Celia Webb with Always Faithful Home Inspection. This is the Common Good Radio Show, highlighting the good in the community. I'm Pastor John McClain, here with Alyssa DeMeo with Astrom Consulting. Go to veteranrescuemission.org to find out more about the show and the work that we do with homeless veterans, as well as commongoodtucson.com. We'll be back right after the break. You hang out right there.
Common Good TV show. The Common Good TV show, brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission, highlighting the good in the community. Hosted by Pastor John McClain, Tucson's favorite family show.